Film Diet Podcast.
And it was just sequel after sequel after sequel.
There was no character development at all.
Just that on pure technical levels.
There are filmmakers that don't want it just to be an entertainment experience. Hello and welcome to Media Academy Online's Film Diet Podcast. And welcome back to another year. How was your break?
It was spectacular.
Was it?
Wonderful.
That's
amazing.
Did you get up to anything exciting?
Family.
Yeah.
Just family. Simple this year. I'm not a young chicken anymore. I'm not a spring chicken on the town getting wasted. No more. Yep.
Very good.
Had my son in 2019. First child. So
That's
basically...
probably biggest highlight, is it, personally?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That just eclipses everything by a mile. So
Yeah.
it's just, starting this channel with you and, getting back to what we used to do.
Mhm.
And then now having my son and about the same time we got back together as well. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
it's all been positive.
Yeah.
And gotten a lot of good direction and feeling like good things are coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we're building up and we're building
Mhm.
up and my family's building up too. And it's, this is what we live for. And it's given a whole sense of purpose, basically. I feel purposeful.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm no longer just wasting away in the winds,
Mm-hmm.
waiting for my next time to get wasted or hang out with mates and just kill time and not pursue hobbies or
Something to look forward to for the future. Looking
Yeah.
to the future. Yeah.
So it's
And that
all-
was a very similar sort of year for me too.
Mm.
Started out a bit rough, but
Mm.
things, I don't know, life seems long, but eventually things seem to fall into place and work.
Yeah.
And I don't know, life seems to have a bigger plan for you, bigger
Yeah.
purpose, and even though things might seem like at a certain time things aren't really working out and you think, life is destroyed, but things always seem to work themselves out.
Yeah, life goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And life is funny because it's all about remaining positive, I think. And you
Yeah.
know, positive, when you're in that frame of mind, of course you're going to notice more things that are positive. But when you're in a negative frame of mind, you're going to focus on the negatives more.
And negative breeds negativity.
Exactly, yeah.
And the people around you will also can bring you down. If they're very negative people, then they'll also...
It's going to rub off on you, isn't
Mhm,
it?
yeah.
Naturally. And it's good to just be aware of these things.
Yeah.
And, when you find yourself getting wrapped up in negative thoughts or whatever it is at certain times, it's always good just to take a step back and go for a walk.
Yeah.
Clear your head, go for a swim. I know you're big into those things.
Yeah, that's me.
You're at the beach daily. And
Yep.
I got dogs, so I walk my dogs, and I spend time with my son. And, it's just all about balance as well. Life is about balance. So you go to work and you make your money, but at the same time, you got to have fun and you got to have hobbies as well. And that sort of just keeps you purposeful as well.
Yeah. And the thing is, right, with negativity, it doesn't, it doesn't only just make your life more miserable and you're dwelling on the negativity, but it also affects your productivity.
Yeah.
And when you're living in that negative world that we all do, like we all do it,
Yeah.
it's not something that, I can't sit here and say, look, I'm never negative. We all get negative. We all get those moments. But being able to try and stay positive and think, what are the positives? And if you try and focus on things that are in your control, then and not dwell on those negatives, then everything that you do will also breed productivity in the same process. And you'll end up finding, maybe it could be as simple as finding a new hobby or finding something positive to do.
Absolutely.
And then the more productivity, the more you do with yourself, the more positivity will be bred, and it's a good cycle.
Yeah, it's a cycle, and that momentum and that it just gets stronger and stronger. It's, the more you feed into something, the more it's going to give back.
That's
and
right.
It's just, and that's a cool thing. Like you learn that with time, I think.
Yeah.
Like I spent my whole 20s, in the tail end of my teens, miserable, more so than not. And I fell into habits that I probably shouldn't have, and I didn't pull myself out of them. And before you know it, I'd been doing it for 5+ years, going on close to a decade of doing the same stuff. And to be honest, it kept me unproductive. And when I look back on that time, I can't dwell on it or have regrets, as they say, because once again, that's negative thoughts, it's negative thinking. So it's more like being aware of that's what I was consumed with at the time, and my thinking was in a certain way. But now that I'm entering my 30s, it's, I'm already in my 30s, but now, I'm not in my 20s anymore, and it's just a matter of like, okay, I'm fine-tuning now. I'm fine-tuning the things I want in my life and what I like to do. Yeah. And to scrap all that other stuff that I was so consumed by,
So on the topic of, dwelling,
yeah,
there's a big lesson to be learned in sometimes when you do lose everything, whether it is professionally or within a relationship. Sometimes we do have to turn away from the status quo. Yeah. And find yourself in, deep waters, somewhere new. Yeah. But that's not always a bad thing.
No, I don't think so.
And it's part of lessons and growing up and learning. And then again, when you are in those situations where maybe you have to start again or move past what you used to do or be, then again, it's finding positivity in that and finding the benefits and finding where you can go from here, and whether it is creatively or just in life in general, always finding the positives and how you can make this situation that you've been put in, turning that around so it is something that you're proud of.
Yeah. And anything worthwhile in life is challenging. You know? Yeah. It's not a matter of nothing's an easy fix, and nothing happens overnight, as they say. Yeah. Things are a process. And unfortunately, we do tend to flake off here and there, you know, whether you're tired and you're exhausted or whatever it is because of work or taking on too much. Yeah. And before you know it, you're burnt out, and then you're starting to go, oh, is this right? I've picked up these 2 hobbies along with working full time and whatever else, and it's just like, I can't manage all this. So then drop something. Yeah. Just simplify and take one thing at a time.
And I think with these day and age, especially with like social media and the internet, we glorify working yourself to the bone a lot. Yeah. And I remember, now I'm 30, and going through my 20s, I was just heads down the whole 20s. I would just figure out something that I wanted to do or achieve, and that would be my single goal. But along the way, you kind of start to see the negative effects of that you aren't putting time in yourself and trying to be happy. And sometimes stopping, even if it's an hour a day, spending time watching a movie, 1 movie a day, just having that time for yourself. Personally, I might go for a swim, I might go for a walk, I might watch a movie. And learning to find a happy medium is something that I've done.
That's good.
And that's probably the biggest growth that I've seen.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. Like, I know exactly what you're saying with all that. Like, it's something that I've been trying to practice this whole year. Yeah. More so than any other year. It's something that's sort of finally been clicking. And that's, being New Year's, New Year's resolutions and all that. It's basically my thinking into this year is just to improve myself overall and to keep momentum going in the things I want to pursue, but not let it get me down, not let it defeat me or feel defeated. And I know it's a tall order, or, it's setting my sights high or whatever, and then I've got to live up to it for the rest of the year. But I don't want to say, like, for example, I'm quitting smoking or I'm quitting drinking or, something like that, which I don't, it's more about just my attitude. I think I need to tweak and stay on top of, and like we're saying, just the balance of life and be more present in the moment instead of projecting into the future or or remembering the past and letting that dictate your present mood as well. And that's something that, you know, had affected me for years. Just always thinking back and regretting stuff, and then going, oh, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. And, you know, you could do that all bloody your whole life, and before you know it, you're in aged care and you can't do anything. So anyway, it's just this year it's all about self-improvement for me. That's it.
No, that's it. For me, I guess I'm same page, but it's also about, you know, having goals, but having achievable goals. So like, as you're saying, you know, some people have stopped smoking or drinking. They're definite goals. And it's kind of counterproductive to have a definite goal that you only need one bad night and you fall off that wagon and you feel worse for it.
That's a good point.
But having goals which incremental is sort of
the process.
It's a process. So even
I'm not going to smoke for this first for a month, or I'm going to cut down from 5 cigarettes to 2 cigarettes.
That's it.
I'm going to
incremental changes over time. Just I've created a plan for myself in the future, but they're baby steps. And that's what probably the best way of looking at things is to have goals, but that goal also has milestones. And we all say, oh, that's it. I want to, whatever it might be, do this, do that, change my career, do this. But there's a process involved with that.
It's like, okay, you have to update your resume. You have to redo your portfolio. You have to apply for jobs.
That's it.
Get the interviews. Go for the interviews. Prepare for the interviews. You know, and then if you don't get the job, move on to the next one and repeat and
not let a definite yes or no or whatever it might be, you know, rejection. Don't let that be the better of you, and just say, okay, this is part of the process.
You're going to get rejection here and there, or you might get that first job. Who knows?
But even if you do get that first job, usually it's because you've planned yourself prior. You know, you might fluke it and just put in a random resume here that you haven't put any effort in, but usually there's processes with that resume.
That's such a good point, because last year I think I applied for like 20 jobs. I think I applied for, maybe more. I probably put my heart into about 5 of those, maybe 6. Of those 6, I got 3 interviews and I got all 3 jobs, and I turned all 3 down.
Right.
And it just wasn't at the right time. But having gone through that process, because it had been a long time since I had been for interviews and gone through the process, and it kind of just told me that I can still switch careers and get back into what I was doing, like graphic design. And, you know, like I just got to put the work into my presentation, you know, the resume and the portfolio, update it, make it look fresh again. And that builds my confidence up again. And then I'm going into that interview with a clear head of who I am. And, you know, and that just basically, I think that won me those 3 jobs because I had that confidence.
And it's something you're proud of as well. It's something you can say, you know, I've put my best foot forward. And I'm not just going to put out crap. And that confidence that you'll bring, that self-confidence will show. Some people might just think their shit don't stink and just be able to put any resume and walk in and be like, talk shit. But I think there's a genuine, if you can be genuine, show them your best self. That shows. You know, like people that usually do interview you can read people pretty well. That's the reason they're doing the interviews. And I like to be as genuine as I can, who I am. I don't like to fluff anything and sort of pretend I know things that I don't. As much as possible. Here and there you can always enhance. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, you got to sell yourself sometimes. But then I always have like a limit where I'm like, okay, I'm not confident going that far, but I'll pull that back down again. But, you know, and I got those 3 jobs and it felt good. I was like, oh, sweet, I can do this. I can do that. If I want, I can do it. You know, just a side note from my professional work, you know, my TV commercials and stuff, when I'm looking at resumes, which happens a bit, I'm looking at resumes of people. You can see through when someone says, you know, I've got all these skill sets, and you can tell when they're talking shit or not. So I think that genuine element's important because, as you're saying, this is just backing up what you're saying. People can see through that shit. I can see that through that shit. In business, they try and paint it as this dog-eat-dog world, and you just have to try and bulldoze your way through. But I think everyone has a certain amount of humbleness to them.
We are still all human, aren't we?
We are human, and we want to try and do the best we can.
Yeah, and it's good to have that. Like, if you're going for a job or an interview and you're feeling good in that interview, you've already got that slight connection between you and the interviewee. And, you know, you're having good rapport with each other.
Yeah.
And that goes such a long way, because if you leave that lasting impression, they go, I actually really like that person as a person first. And then he's got all these skills on top of that and experience on top of that.
Yeah.
You know, let's call him. You know, he's at the top of the list, or she's at the top of the list. And I think that's what really shines through is your personality as well.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that is like one of the biggest things. Like, do we want that person in the office? Do we want to be dealing with that person? Yeah,
That's
well, he
it.
was pleasant to deal with, or she was pleasant, so call her up.
I would never hire anyone that thinks their shit don't stink, because that is counterproductive when you're working in a team environment where you have to get things done at a certain date, at a certain time for a certain client, and you've got someone in there who's just creating politics and carry on in the office. So there's a certain amount that you need to be able to bring to the table.
Yeah.
And you're willing to work as a team, and no one is higher up or lower down in the ranking than anyone else. We're all equal, and we're all got a common goal. And that's the thing with any job, whether it's creative or not, there's always a common goal, and that we are all on this planet together.
Yeah, that's true.
And we have to live with each other.
Yeah.
All the crap that goes on in the world, that's what happens when we don't all work together.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. You know, we're just coming into this new year with, you know, thinking about things and just going, okay, well, we got a plan. You know, you got a plan. I've got a plan.
Professional plans, personal plans, goals.
All that. I mean, it can sound cheesy, and to people it does, but to people that want to hear this sort of thing, it can do wonders to people and just gives reassurance, and, you know, and it just puts them back on that path again and go, well...
All in all, be true to yourself. Try and remember what you've been put on this planet for.
Yeah, follow your heart.
Yeah.
You know, whatever your heart's telling you. And
if it's not, then get out. It's that simple.
Yeah, if things don't feel good, let's get out. But talking about a balance and dealing with, say, depression...
Yeah.
And anxiety and disorders and dealing with life in general and the world, bringing you down. Let's talk about Joker.
So in this podcast, we're going to be looking back at 2019 and our favourite films and our not so favourite films, and just a general look back at 2019 and what's happened in the world of cinema.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's been a big year.
It has been. It's been a changing landscape. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just...
This year I actually really did feel it, you know. Yeah. But yeah, first on the list, we both seen these films that we're going to talk about first up. And
we've got two ones that we're going to focus on as the main points of this discussion. And I think they're good because they're showing us that good cinema... still exists.
Yes, cinema and film is not dead, and it's not dying.
It's not just these blockbuster movies.
As Scorsese said, theme park rides, which is, you know, I like that. A lot of people hated on him for that.
Well, he's had a bigger backlash because of his comments there.
Yeah, which is fine, you know, whatever.
You know, he's entitled to his opinion.
Exactly.
In the same way that those people bashing on him are entitled to their opinion.
Exactly.
You know?
I don't see what the big deal is. Like, someone speaks their mind and everyone has to jump down their throat for it.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we be promoting individual thoughts and...
Constructive.
Yeah, constructive.
And
say,
constructive about
okay, Marty, that's fine, but XXX is...
And just state the reasons, you know. We understand that might be your view. However, we feel that did the same amount of art involved and list the reasons why, rather than just like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's just always like this... Ends up like a playground bloody shit show.
It's like a typical
typical
Facebook feed. That,
you go through the comments and you're just getting, don't delete Facebook now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't do you any favors. Just waste your time.
Let's talk about our first one, Joker.
Lead it in.
All right. So this one, it took me a little while to see this one. You saw it way before I saw it.
I did, but I wasn't there first week either. My brother saw it opening night.
Yeah.
And he raved, and I thought, because, got a son, and I was like, I can't go to the cinemas as much as I like to anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, I waited and then went.
Yeah, and I was hearing feedback. I was hearing a lot of people saying it was great. I heard one person say it was boring, which was a bit weird, but that's what you get when they're going in expecting Marvel and they don't get it.
I was going to say.
But
yeah.
I was hearing a lot.
Yeah.
But at the time I was moving and doing lots of other stuff, so I kind of didn't get a chance to see it. And then when I finally had a free evening, I was like, okay, I'll go. My God, it
moved you.
It's reimagining the superhero genre, the villain superhero genre, in a way for the better.
Yeah.
It's actually humanized it.
It's unbelievable
great.
in a way. Like, we've had, say, so many Batman films over the years, more bad ones than good.
Yeah.
And to think about before pre-Joker came out, it was kind of like, I was thinking, okay, we've had Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And that was a fucking trash pile.
They were trying to copy Marvel.
Yeah.
They were trying to say, we're just going to do the Marvel blockbuster thing.
And that's what I thought Suicide Squad, the first trailer that came out, was so much more like Joker is than what it ended up being. And they retrofitted that movie. Like, that's a big discussion anyway. But they changed the tone of that film. They reshot stuff and basically turned that into a bubblegum movie from being a serious, dark DC film.
Yeah.
See, they choked there and thought, nah, all because of Batman versus Superman and that big failure. So then they retrofitted Suicide Squad for the worse. It still was successful, but not critically.
Yeah, financially.
Financially it was fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, coming into the Joker, I was a bit hesitant. I was like, okay, I'm very eager to see what this is like. How they're going to tackle just the Joker character. It was a strange thought.
Especially when it's been done so many times in the past. So I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be another one of those reimaginings that I'm not sure where it's going to hit.
Yeah, I was a bit dubious, but at the same time, having Joaquin Phoenix, and I know the director's work as well, and he's very good at what he does. I mean, he did The Hangovers, but I love Due Date, and he did another film, War Dogs, Todd Phillips.
Yeah.
And I love the way he shoots. Like, he's got a very commercial feel. It's like music videos, but not over the top like Suicide Squad. It's very film language at the same time, and he knows how to use actors as well. I don't know. You just get a good sense that this guy has a vision, and he had a vision, I suppose, with Joaquin Phoenix as well. And they decided to go for that route, which they did. And wow, I wasn't prepared for the emotional impact.
Very few films have that impact where you arrive home after seeing it and that's all you're thinking about.
And you're moved. Yeah.
Very few films have done it, but that's one that did, and it was stuck there. Yeah. It was stuck there for the whole...
it's still there in me. Like, when I think about it, it sort of kind of gives me shivers.
Yeah.
And I'm still thinking about his performance and things like that. And it's like, oh, yeah, it was so effective.
And I guess... Let's start breaking it down.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
I guess so. The biggest thing, is the reflection on how people with disabilities, mental disabilities, are reflected in the world. And it's true. We've put this stigma around people with disabilities, where it's either they're made fun of, or we turn our heads on it. Yeah.
It's almost like that idea of, another one with a mental disability.
Yeah.
It's a very prevalent thing these days because people are actually talking about it, It's not like back in the day where men were too proud to say that they were depressed or had issues.
And that's the thing, right? We've still got a long way to go because when you look at how many people commit suicide, when you look at the stats, it's something like for every 7 people that commit suicide, 5 of them are men.
Yeah. Huge statistic.
We've still got that stigma around, especially for males, where they're almost seen as...
You got to be tough.
You have to be... You can't show any emotion. And I think we have to look at rewinding that and realizing that we're all human and we all feel the same. We all have a heart that beats.
Yeah.
And we've all got a brain that thinks and can overthink and misunderstand situations. And no matter, what your skill set might be or whatever you might have, some people might have disabilities, mental disabilities, or what are seen as mental disabilities. But then they might be brilliant at other things. So let's not focus on what they're bad at and focus on what they're good at.
Yeah.
And I think this film highlighted that perfectly.
Yeah, and it came at a good time as well, I think.
Yeah. And I think the Joaquin Phoenix's performance, I think he understood what the film was about, that it's not a film about trying to glorify anything, whether it's doing horrible things to people or horrible things getting done to him or anything like that. He broke it down to a human level where he said, what would someone do that has a gun and he doesn't quite understand people and they're in his face and he can't stop laughing? How would he react? And I think he hit it on the head, building up that momentum for that stage where he did shoot them. Yeah. To try and not say that that's okay, but try and say, okay, yes, he shot these people on the train. There's a stage where he did break. Yeah. So it's not about trying to say this was okay or this was bad or trying to take sides or... Yeah. It was just a progression of trying to understand mentally how someone can deteriorate to the stage where they're shooting someone on TV.
Crazy. I shouldn't say crazy, but, Yeah.
But it was crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's the first time, instead of just having someone that on screen that he's bad. He's a bad person. Yeah. Good versus bad. And then he becomes a hero who we all have to cheer for. Yeah. They blurred those lines where we felt for him. Yeah. We felt his pain. At the same time, we see him shoot people and we're thinking, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. It's almost like you're rooting for him and you want to see him get better. And you're seeing him spiral down at the same time. Yeah. And you're kind of like, at the same time, you're rooting for him because you want him to see him become the Joker. But at the same time, you don't want him to because you don't want him to fall off the edge that far.
That's right.
And it's like this weird conundrum.
And it's humanized all the characters too, so it's not just some random extra X who got shot and then we move on. Yeah. The characters that actually we felt it when people got killed.
Yeah.
We felt those 3 people who got shot. We felt that, and that echoed through the film.
Yeah. Very shocking.
Yeah. Which is great because we have all these huge war films and stuff where 50 people die and we don't feel a thing. Yeah, we move on and we're just
numb and or like Avengers or Batman vs Superman or like those films where they're destroying cities and even like Roland Emmerich films like Day After Tomorrow or Side and Adventure or all these disaster films where you get to see thousands of people dying and it's like, or Aquaman when those tidal waves come through and so many people dying but you just don't feel a thing because there's no human element really there. They don't build up. It's almost like you're not even watching it happen. You're watching it like a video game. That's what it feels like.
The depth and feeling that impact of death is something that was really one of the most impactful things. Is actually a soul has just died.
Yeah, and I find that so important, and it's something that kind of annoys me about action films. Yeah, and it's okay to have lighthearted fun and stuff for kids and all that sort of thing, but I think we do treat death, war, and killing in a lot of films way too like pleasant.
Glorified
and shying away from what is actually happening, because then people grow up with an idea, they can maybe grow up with an idea that, like, it wasn't as bad, or whatever it was, but no death or murder is pleasant.
Yeah, and I think it paints a picture where we can watch reality TV or something like that, and we're treating the characters, who are real people, by the way, on reality TV or whatever it might be, and they get treated the way that the TV show has painted them. Yeah. And we're like hating on one person or hating on 2 people because of the narrative that has been written. Yeah. And we forget that's a real person and they've got a history and they've got a future, and even though they've been painted very badly or whatever to weave this narrative, as much as we like to think, that that it's all happening in real life, there's a reason why they film reality TV shows 6 months before they air it.
Yeah, and then edit the shit out of it. And it's interesting because like we have a tendency, like if someone says something wrong or someone is down, and you know it's that old saying, and when someone's down, you know they get kicked while they're down, and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's just good to see something that's human, you know, even
that's
something
it.
is so from comic books, you know, it's hyper real and all those
Yeah.
things, but it's done in such an
Yeah.
authentic way.
It's getting all these elements, these fantasy elements, these larger than life elements, but grounding it
Yeah.
in reality.
And boy, does it hit hard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, I just pulled up a few quotes because, you know, there's so many lines in that film, like whether it's the jokes he's putting in his diary, or just some of the quotes he says. And I love that one, that joke he does come up with. And it's, the worst part of having a mental illness is people expect you to behave as if you don't,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like, that's so true, because we always expect people to behave as if we want them to.
It's always us, what we want.
Yeah.
It's always what we want. But we
Yeah.
never think maybe what they want.
Yeah.
This is very true.
And his other quote, like, for my whole life, I didn't know if I really existed, but I do. And people are starting to notice. It's kind of like he's starting to have confidence in himself. He's becoming his own person, far removed. Unfortunately, he's off the deep end, but at least he's not crumbling, you know, anymore. He's sort of moved on from that past, and he's like embracing who he is as a damaged person.
Yeah, and it goes deeper than that. You know, we see every day in the real world that's a true thing, that people find that they might meet the wrong people, the wrong friends, and they actually feel like they belong.
Yeah.
But that might not be for the better. It might be with whether it's with the wrong crowd,
Yeah.
or people with the different values to you. Just things like that, where we can find ourselves where we don't feel like we belong, and then we find a group of people where we do belong, and that might not be for the better.
Yeah.
Or we find traits that we think run true, but we don't see the bigger picture, and we just stick with our own view on things.
But yeah, this is it. This is the film. Like it makes you think.
That's why this whole conversation hasn't been about too much about the storyline, more about the context and what it's saying.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
It is.
You know, if you let it, you know, work its magic.
If we try and have this conversation about Endgame, what is there to say?
I don't know. Robert Downey still feels bad. And
He died.
And then he dies.
And then
I don't know. I mean,
people cried.
Yeah, that's the problem with those sort of. We'll get to that. You know, most people, I think, understood that this is a relevant picture. You know, this is speaking to a lot of people. You know, whether it's the mental illness thing, just how much society is messing with people and bringing people down, and being caught up in all that and the chaos, all the noise.
And the exciting part is to see how they can. Hopefully, they see this, lack of a better word, formula, use this new approach to storytelling with comic book characters, and try that with some of their other IP. You know, also create this secondary universe, which Marvel do it all the time. Just create this second world that can evolve and have they use these characters in a different way.
Yeah. Like, I'm interested to see the next chapter in the superhero thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah. Anyway.
Well, that's the reimagining all the Marvel stuff. I reckon this to be very Marvel-esque, but they're saying they're sort of sitting down and reworking out
Absolutely
the future.
Yeah.
And now with all this online streaming stuff, all this additional canon content that's going to be part of it all now.
Yep.
We'll see how that changes the
landscape
the
again.
landscape.
We've got the new Batman on the way. Matt Reeves, the guy that did the Planet of the Apes films, the latest trilogy. He's helming the new Batman, and Robert Pattinson's been cast as Batman.
The 50th Batman reincarnation.
Yeah. Which is, you know, I mean, I'm very excited for it because I rate him as an actor. Matt Reeves is good when he's good.
Yeah.
You know, everything sounds like it's moving into a good way. But coming back to the Joker, I think the casting in this film alone was one of the best sort of decisions that was made, because you got Joaquin Phoenix, who's always good on film.
Nails it. He's
especially damaged people. Like, he understands how to play damaged people,
Yeah.
so convincingly.
Even on the way back to Gladiator, that's when I first
Absolutely.
noticed him. And
Same
I thought,
here.
Boom.
Yeah, and he didn't win the Academy for that,
Mm-hmm.
but Russell Crowe won because he dies.
Yeah.
And I always thought Joaquin should have won that. And
Yeah.
every time I've rewatched Gladiator, that performance that's the performance in the film.
Yeah.
It really is. And, am I not merciful? He has those moments. You're just like, Jesus, this guy he's intense.
Mm.
And, he's done a lot of art house films as well. And he's always good.
Yeah.
Even if the film's not that great, he's always good.
Yeah.
And Joker is just like resting on his shoulders. It's
Mhm.
like, you go, Joaquin. You just run with it and you
Yeah.
do you, man. Because we're just setting up these cameras and filming you.
What's going to be interesting if and when they do a sequel
I know.
to see what happens, because now that we've reached the point where shit hits the fan,
Yeah.
and there's a very tight sort of rope to walk on where we can easily fall back into the actiony, people dying.
Yeah. Losing all the, the
'Cause
heart.
We're right on that cusp where things
Yeah. Could either go either way.
either way. This is my top. This is my top.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to your top then.
Yeah. Well, my top was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
All right.
QT's 9th film. And
yeah, second last one, I suppose.
Yeah, you only want to do 10, which I'm still in denial about. I'm like, no.
Well, everyone says that. John Farnham said that.
I know, he said that about 100 tours ago.
If you don't know who he is, don't worry.
Yeah. I mean, how many musicians do you know that have hanged up the guitar or whatever and then they've come
Yeah.
back for another 20 tours?
Yeah.
When they need money, they'll come back. But yeah, I mean, Quentin Tarantino, if he says he's going to retire, I sort of believe it. He's one of those guys that he'd be happy with just 10 films. I can imagine him not wanting to
He's very
break
confident.
that.
He speaks his mind and he's true to himself. And I think
Seems
if
to
he's
be.
saying it,
Yeah.
whether that's good or bad, he can piss people off sometimes, but he's being himself.
I mean, that's
is
the thing,
great.
that's the thing about
He's
it.
genuine.
Yeah, and he doesn't give a fuck about media or whatnot. He'll just say things as there is. And I love listening to interviews with him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, that's real, that's cool. That's Quentin.
Yeah.
Like, fuck,
Instead of trying to paint all celebrities as
these perfect
can't
creatures.
do wrong.
Yeah, these like idolized,
Yeah.
bloody perfect beings that, like Greek gods on a pedestal and we're all worshipping them. And yeah, so Quentin Tarantino, 9th film. I was hesitant going into this one because the trailer, for some reason, trailers never really do his movies justice, I find.
Yeah, well, how can you?
You
How can
can't.
you?
You literally can't. The only way I can see them doing a trailer of his films is if they basically show you one of his scenes. Like just one talking scene, one moment in that film. That's the only way you can get across the Quentin Tarantino-ness, not show me flashes of what's happening.
That's it.
It makes it
Especially
seem like
with
another film amongst the many. Not
someone with such a big voice that he has.
his dialogue.
He's just that. When you're watching his film, you're watching his film.
Yeah, you're not.
And trying to just sort of pull apart little bits and say, here you go, here's a little bit of a...
Just doesn't do anything
Shred
justice.
off some of your cheese and here you go.
Yeah.
How can you do that?
There's you can't do that with Quentin Tarantino. You can't just cut up because his films are edited in a certain way and they always have a flow to them. His flow, to his music. And I've got a video about it that we did, and I talk about just he's almost like a DJ or like a beat maker or an artist, basically, that's just has a way of weaving his stuff. Dialogue and music and the momentum of scenes and action, the way he'll just weave it through, and it's like music, it really is. And like I went into this film like, okay, it's a period piece again, which is pretty interesting because Joker's the 70s and this one is 60s, 70s as well. And I love that era. Brad Pitt and Leonardo and Margot Robbie. Okay, I love those three actors. And there's Al Pacino and many of his other guys that are in the film as well. And I was like, what's this going to be like?
Yeah.
I just had no idea what to expect.
The premise itself is pretty out there.
I know, and I'm like, he's doing the Charlie Manson stuff. But it's all
polarizing.
Based on this. And I was like, what? I was like, okay, I'll just go. So, as usual, I go opening night to Quentin Tarantino films and went to the Astor, which is which is an old palace, an old cinema sort of.
That would be the way to see it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's the old seats. It's all
Mhm.
old school, and it's actual. It was like 70mm projection.
Yeah.
So it's actual film.
Would've
It's not
been-
digital. It's the
Would've been
presentation,
an
like, as
experience.
Quentin
Yeah.
likes it, And I'm like, I did that with Hateful Eight. Anyway, that's the way to see QT. And anyway, I'm sitting down, and as soon as the film started, it was just like boom.
Yeah.
What was I worried about? Like all that just vanished in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And it was like this. I almost forgot. Like this guy knows what he's fucking doing. And I just gravitate to his stuff so easily. And what did I like about it? I thought it was one of his strongest pieces. Like all these films are good in their own way, in my opinion. But this one became my favourite film of the year because it's a long-ass fucking film. But he sustained my interest throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
Okay? Where I didn't know where it was going. I had no idea where this film was going. I was like... And I was just taking it all in.
Mm-hmm.
And, hey, at moments, I was like, oh... I was getting a bit restless at a few moments.
Yeah.
But then within a second, I was snapped back into it again. And, whether it was dialogue or music or just the way he'll fucking throw something in there.
The way I sort of saw this film is that it's almost like a series of like short films put into one, right? You'd have the
advertisements or the Leonardo DiCaprio characters' little moments.
They've got the little moments.
Yeah,
You sit down,
yeah.
it's just dialogue. Or you got the bit where they're all with the hippies in the little land.
Brad Pitt goes off and meets
that's the
those
thing,
guys.
and then that starts, and then we're there for ages,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
it stops and moves on to something else, and then
And it's like that other bit as well when Brad Pitt's like, he has that little moment where he's on set, and you see that Bruce Lee moment.
Yeah.
And it's all kind of like him reflecting on that moment. Why Leo tells him, no, I think you should go home, not be on set this time. And then he basically goes to fix his antenna. And then that whole scene is just in his head of him reflecting. And then it just goes back to that moment again. And then it continues on. And that's the thing I like about Quentin Tarantino. Because you don't know.
Yeah.
You can't predict where he's going. And he'll just throw things in like a curveball. And you're just like, what? Hang on. And then after it's done, then you realise the context of it.
Yeah.
And you go, fuck. For me, I was just spinning out, after every moment. And then you got the Margot Robbie character playing Sharon Tate.
And she's just watching movies the whole time.
And she's going into the cinema to watch her movie, and it's actually Sharon Tate that she's watching, and it's like that. I love that. The way he can just do those things, and he's not afraid to go there.
Yeah. And the all of the actual quote-unquote action of it, with all the people dying, that's the last 10 minutes of the film.
Yeah, exactly. The climax is the climax.
Yeah.
And, and climaxes shouldn't be long. The longer they go on for, the less...
The tension of
potent
building up to that point was the most crucial part in this film.
And it was just like, boom.
It's just like all these little bits that were so separated, slowly but surely, all combined,
and
bit by bit.
Yeah, I think that's why...
It's like a Christmas tree, all pointing in one direction to the one tip.
All these little things. But I think that's why I like this film so much, because it's almost like this man has perfected his craft. Mm-hmm. This is his 9th film. Every other film he's done feels like it's a part of this film.
Yeah.
The DNA of this film, you've got Kill Bill moments, you've got death proof moments at the car, you've got standoffs, you've got just dialogue moments, you've got the music, you've got, all these little moments that just remind me of his previous works, but it's all been sort of pulled together in a way that's almost like self-reflective of his own career.
Yep.
So at the same time, it's like he's reflecting on Hollywood, the films he loves, which he always does, which I just absolutely adore, that he goes and basically always includes his inspirations in his films.
It's a love letter to cinema and Hollywood, and
which I just I drool from my mouth when I'm seeing this sort of stuff, because I'm just like, yeah, man, you're passionate with what you like, and that's what I gravitate to. And and you get to that final 10 minutes, and that whole moment that was set up with Brad Pitt and his dog feeding him the can of food, gets flipped on its head, and he's fucking, throws the can of food at that person's head, and
Yeah.
you know, and it's all on, man, and it's all on, and the flamethrower, and oh man, it's just like you did it again.
And then it ends so abrupt. I was
Boom.
You know, I was expecting another
I know.
slowdown of the
Yeah.
tension there, another 15 minutes, and it was just like talking, boom. Oh, okay,
Done.
cool,
Yeah.
easy, in and out.
Yeah, no, I like that because things tend to drag on, you know, and his movies always have that whole middle part where it's like, this is just dragging on, right? If you don't like that sort of thing, of course you're not going to like it. But he has such a big following, and I think people get, like, okay, this dialogue scene's been going on for like 20 minutes, but you know it's going somewhere. You know it's going to be a payoff at some point. But anyway, I just thought it's a beautiful love letter. I love the way he changes history. It's once upon a time in Hollywood, so it's a fairy tale anyway.
Yeah, states it.
Inglourious Basterds did that with Hitler and the Nazis. He's done this with Charlie Manson and the gang. And, man, people were cheering when that happened, you know, and Sharon Tate, because you think, oh, fuck, this is where she gets killed. This is the moment. And you're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And you're really kind of worried for her. And then that all gets flipped on its head, and you're fucking up in your seat clapping and cheering. And, you know, that was the feeling. And everyone was just like, oh, you fucking did it. You did it, Quentin. You fucking master, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But I remember as clear as day when, as soon as that film came out, Sharon's, one of her best friends or something, she was milking the media.
Yeah.
She was on the news and, oh, this is disgraceful. This is this, and it's...
Whatever. You know, it's fine to have your point of view, but, you know, if you need to go on the news and talk about it, yeah, good for you. He's going to get you're always going to get flack when you're doing things, you know, that you're basing on real people or something.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
upfront about...
Yeah, and like, it's called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You know, it's not based on a true story. It's not a biopic or whatever.
But if you're going into a film with those prejudices to start with, then you know that you're not going to have a you're not going to have a clear, you know, level
it's a piece of
view
art
of it. Yeah, that's it.
If you can do a painting on something that's doing stuff that's reflective of things that have happened, that's what art's about. It's about sort of exploring these
and
things.
there's a reason why arts therapy is a thing, because people can use art to move past stages and moments and
deal with things and just talk about things. And I love the way they just quickly, you know, the Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski, like, he's been in the news for years, you know, about his little, you know, not his little, of his wrongdoings, you know, and just to have the balls to put him in the film, you know, and whatever, just get on with it, you know. And Bruce Lee as well, you know, a lot of stink about that as well, you know, people weren't happy with how he was portrayed, but I thought it was fine. Like, it's a bit of fun.
you just have to accept it as that.
Yeah, and just quickly, I love the Leonardo DiCaprio, his character, because it's almost like meta for his career, you know. He's a has-been. He's worried about becoming a has-been, because Leo was like on top of the world after Romeo and Juliet and Titanic. Like, he was on every girl's...
Teen Idol.
In every girl's bedroom.
Yeah.
On every girl's pencil case. He was everywhere.
Yeah.
And...
even just some of the girls in the office where I work.
Yeah.
Just a couple of weeks ago, they were looking at photos of past him, and they're like, he's so attractive. And these girls are 25 and 26 now.
Right.
And they're still just gawking over it past.
Yeah, past Leo.
Past Leo.
Yeah. But yeah, I just love the way it's sort of like reflective of him in real life. Like, he's getting used to aging and moving on, and, you know, and just that whole thing. It's cool. It's cool. So yeah.
Great.
Those two films definitely at the top. And I was kind of like, which one's higher?
Yeah.
But, you know, overall as a film, I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But as a performance, I think Joaquin Phoenix for Joker wins Performance of the Year.
Yeah. All right. So just before we move on and discuss how Hollywood and the industry has sort of changed, I thought I'd mention a few films that we've seen. We might have seen.
Yep.
Good, bad, doesn't matter. We'll just mention them. First one I've seen, High Flying Bird, which is the Netflix one.
Yep.
It was one of those ones filmed on iPhone.
Was it a gimmick? Do you think
I
it's
think
a gimmick?
I think they oversell that point.
It's like, this is a
This is
found
what you
footage
can
film. but it's not.
Yeah. Well, what was good about this one is that they tried to make it look great, and the cinematography was brilliant. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
But that isn't because of the phone they've used.
Yeah.
It's because of everything else.
The add-ons.
All the add-ons, and that's. I did make a video about this.
Yeah.
When this came out, because there is a sort of misconception that all you need is the phone and that's it. But no, you need. First of all, you need all. They use all these additional stabilizers and lenses. Yeah. And anyway, there's a whole video on that. If you want to hate me on it, give me another thumbs down on that video. Go for it. But it's true.
Yeah.
The truth can't be denied.
You can't just use an iPhone and that's it.
Yeah, and then the audio is another thing. Big thing. Anyway.
Yeah.
And the other film I saw, thought I'd quickly mention was Rocket Man, which was interesting because it's sort of a continuation on this whole looking back at past musician, even though he was a producer on this and he was a big sort of, he had some involvement in it. Yeah. But it was, I just thought I'd mention it because it's sort of we're seeing this trend now of telling previous stories of people's, rise to fame. Yeah. And this one was interesting because it sort of was more of a musical than it was a biopic, which was
usually
interesting.
More drama.
Kind of had its thing. It kind of was a bit confusing in parts because it was
tonally and stuff.
The tone was a bit, and they'd use random sort of montages through dance and stuff, which would miss a lot of people. They wouldn't quite understand it, but anyway, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see in 2020 whether we have any more of these biopics that come out. All right, your turn. Mention a couple of the ones you've seen.
Well, Parasite, I'd like to mention first because South Korean film, and Bong Joon-ho, I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but he's a director I've been watching. Like, he did a film called The Host, but anyway, he's done a lot of good films, and this came out. I heard a lot of buzz about it, and I was like, oh, that's surprising. This film's actually getting a lot of people actually talking about this film a lot, and and it sounds like it did really well at Cannes. Yeah. James Caan's. It did a lot of, I think it won the top prize or something anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Palme d'Or. Whatever
Palme d'Or. And I was like, oh shit, I've really got to check this out. And I finally got to see it, and it was amazing because it's subtitled. Yeah. And I have to read it. I find it hard to digest the film in one watch.
That's my biggest thing is with subtitle films is just pressing play. But when I know I have to do it, you have to be paying full attention, reading. Yeah. You can't look away for a second or you completely... Yeah. So it's just a mental thing for me.
Yeah.
You've got to get past it though.
I know. And every time I do go, no, I'm going to watch it and stick at it. Yeah. Man, it's always a good thing. Like at the end, most of them, like 9 out of 10 times, I've gone, I'm so glad I watched that. And I put the effort in. Yeah, South Korean films, there's so many good ones. And this is just another one. If not, it's just straight to the top. And it's just a great, fantastic piece of cinema. Really is. It should be on everyone's must-see watch. I'm telling you now. Because it's got everything in it. It's got comedy. It's got drama. It's just weird. It's just like, whoa, how do you intertwine all this and create something so solid?
How do you sort of compare that with typical Hollywood?
Well, that's the thing. This is great to rinse your hands of Hollywood for a bit. It really is like Asian cinema and good foreign films. Is a perfect way to cleanse your palate,
especially with we look at Australian cinema for a second.
Yeah, even that as well.
It's great to watch different stories, and it kind of feels like though Australia every now and then tries to be Hollywood. And
it never works.
It's nice that there is a signature voice with Australian films.
When things are done true to the country or true to the budget or the restraints or what they're working with. Yeah, it's always better. Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see. Anyway, continue.
The next one, Irishman, the Netflix movie. Yeah. Obviously, Martin Scorsese. Long ass film, and it's good as it was on Netflix. But it's like The Godfather or something. It's 3 hours, 3 hours plus.
It's nice to see that these old directors are accepting.
The format,
the new landscape.
I love that. I loved it because initially I was like waiting for this film to come out for years. Years and years. I was reading up on it and like, he's doing the film called another mob film or mafia film, and he's got Al Pacino, and he's got Rob De Niro, and he's got Joe Pesci maybe, and he's got Harvey Keitel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how the hell is this going to work? These guys are like 80 plus, 70 plus.
Can't wait to go in the cinema and see it.
Yeah, I'm like, is this what's going to happen? Yeah, it's going to be in the cinema.
And
No,
then,
Netflix gets bumped
Straight,
to Netflix.
free, all right.
Free, bang. And I was like, fuck yeah. And I watched it twice in 2 days.
Yeah.
That's 7 hours
Mm-hmm.
I spent. You know what I mean? If that doesn't say something, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just good to see the old gang back together again. And those guys, once again, reminded me of what acting is.
Yep.
You know, and it was amazing. I was just like, fuck, seeing these guys again is just makes me happy. And the next one, Midsummer, you know, we spoke about this.
Talk about this. Go on YouTube and watch our video.
A little
watch our
review and
video.
discussion.
That'll be good. That video's not getting enough love. So
Yeah,
give
yeah.
it some love, and then we'll make more.
Yeah, we will make more, and we will. You know, we've got bigger things on the horizon.
Yeah.
But yeah, Midsummer, it's so unique. I love that director, what he's doing, and performance is great. Filming's great.
Mm-hmm.
Good film, solid. Love a good horror.
Yeah.
Ad Astra, Brad Pitt, sci-fi film. I like to see a sci-fi film at least once a year.
Yeah, and this
You know?
one flew under the radar. It just kind of was there. all of a
I mean,
sudden,
it didn't. Like, it did perform okay. It
Yep.
wasn't a failure, and it wasn't a massive success, but it was in that mid-range.
Yep.
And, you know, I think that's all they could really ask
Yeah,
for.
well, I mean, it
That's
depends
better
on
than...
what their marketing budget was.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sure
not
they
what
probably
it is.
just broke even, if
Yeah.
that. But, hey, it's not Cats, so that's something.
That is something.
We can always say that.
Yeah.
And then we got The Missing Link, the Leica animation film. I just like to include this one in there because I watched it at home. You know, I love claymation, so I'm always there to support it.
Yeah,
But The Missing
absolutely.
Link, it was such a stripped back, simple, small film, and it felt like this should have been straight to Netflix or something.
Yeah, okay.
That's why it probably failed.
Do you think, what do you think that is? Do you think it's a marketing thing, or it's a story thing, or it's a
All of it.
audience thing? It's just everything.
Everything. I think all of it played a factor in it. Wasn't the right character at the right time, didn't connect
Yeah,
with
okay.
audiences. But when I watched it, I was like, this is brilliant.
Mhm.
I'm really getting into it. You know, I'm feeling it. But I think it's just the landscape now because
Yeah,
people are
it's changing.
If it's not Pixar, if it's not Disney, if it's not Despicable Me
Mhm.
or something like that, kids aren't necessarily or you know, like
Yeah.
you know, you got to have that sort of glossy or those characters, the fuzzy characters or the I don't know. It just didn't really have that. One more film,
All right. Put it in.
The King. It's on
Yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Aussie director and Joel Edgerton written with him.
Mm-hmm.
Highly recommended as well. That was one. I love a good medieval film, and this one is definitely
Yeah.
worth a watch. Yeah.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
Let's just have a final quick discussion.
Landscape.
Landscape. It's been, I think it's probably been the biggest change in the landscape in a long time.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest in the whole decade. There's been a slow progression throughout the decade, if we just sort of quickly sum it up, through Disney slowly becoming the giant, the juggernaut,
Yeah, the juggernaut.
where they
yeah.
just
I'm the juggernaut, bitch.
and that's finally peaked with their release of Disney Plus.
Yeah, which is just sort of
Yeah. And it seems like they're really the only piece of news mentionable this year. Where if we start off with
breaking records.
breaking records, you know,
Yeah.
they've Endgame,
Just
highest
domination.
grossing film of all time. Bet James Cameron, who had held that for what it was, 14 years or something.
Yeah, he had Avatar and Titanic, I think, one
Yeah,
and two.
he did, yeah. And then they become
Dethroned him.
they dethroned him definitely.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes next
So
year.
did they Avengers has got the top spot. What's
Mhm.
got number 2 now? Is that still Avatar?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So James is not completely dethroned.
Not yet.
He's like, I've still got Avatars coming.
Next year we've got the new one. We'll see how we go.
Yeah, I'm interested. Honestly.
And then in June or July, Disney again, highest grossing studio in a single year became. They did it in June or July or whatever it was.
And they still haven't released Frozen 2, Star Wars, and you know.
And so it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure if you can Google and find out what they actually did and finally end up making. And now they've made it so impossible. The only people who can beat that is
Disney.
the ears themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is that the interesting thing is that studios, like movie seats are down.
Yeah.
but the profits are still up. It's because it's a never-ending cycle, right? Where less people go, oh shit, we've got to put the ticket prices up a bit.
Yeah.
So therefore, even less go, oh, we have to put the ticket prices up again, and it just keeps on going. It's an endless cycle where they bring the prices up, so they keep making their money for their investors, so less people go. And that's why we're at the stage now where we're paying like $23 for a movie.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
So, and it's a never-ending cycle, and it'd be interesting to see how it ends.
Yeah, and I spent a shitload of money at the cinemas. Like
yeah,
that's not including popcorn and drink.
That's it.
That's for $50 night right there.
It is.
And
if you go with someone else, and then you have to buy them popcorn and drink, and
oh man. I just take food in these days.
And then, you're like, oh, I'm going to make a night of it. I go out, eat dinner out first.
$100 night.
Yeah.
Shit.
So.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. But
I mean, another decade, we'll see where we're sitting. But my worry is that cinema, and I've done a whole video about this.
Yeah.
So go and look at my previous video. Yeah. But just a reflection. My worry is that cinema is going to become the theatre of old, where people started going to cinema because they couldn't afford to go to theatre and see live performances. And I'm worried that we're going to, be going to things like Netflix and that only because we can't afford to see movies.
Yeah.
If movies were $13 again, I would probably go twice a week.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd definitely be more inclined to go.
So, but the thing is, someone has to take that first step forward and say, right, we're going to bring the prices down and hope that more people will go. But they're not going to do that because then their investors will say, hang on.
Yeah.
You're going to accept less money.
I guess it's going to be one of those things like there's the Astor, and like all in the city. You've got more smaller independent cinemas. You've got the Brighton, the Dendy, you've got all these cinemas right around the city and stuff,
The little independent ones.
Yeah, and the Carlton, the Nova, the Nova ones, and Palace Cinemas. So you got all these different ones that are a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
They are still like there's a cinema just around the corner from my brother's place up in Northcote, and we saw Joker, I think, for like $10 each.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
There's still plenty of $10 cinemas out.
And I mean, they're quite dingy and stuff. They're old cinemas. They're old.
They're not the big flashy
recliner seats.
Yeah, like the new Hoyts that's just opened near us is just full on. It's just, they give you a performance before you go in to see the performance.
Yeah. And I just saw Star Wars there actually. And, and it's funny, like the amount of times I've seen films at Franks and Hoyts, the amount of times I've fallen asleep because of the recliner seats. I'm so comfy. I never fall asleep in a fucking movie, but I think I've fallen asleep like 5 times. And, that never used to happen. But those recliner seats, they get me.
So I guess just looking, since we're starting a new decade, sort of we'll both have our predictions and we'll see how we go. So okay. I guess my predictions is that cinema, I think it'll still have its place, and I hope it'll still have its place. Yeah. But the length that the movies are going to run for, and the length that it'll take before they go into streaming services, because DVD probably won't be around in another decade.
Definitely not.
Or it won't be as they are now.
No.
So it'll be a new system where they'll go straight from the movies to the streaming services. The biggest thing, and it might change, is it's an agreement that was made. When a film is running in the cinemas, there needs to be a minimum of 3 months before it can go on to any other thing, whether it's DVD or streaming services. So I'm, I guess, predicting or thinking that will shorten.
Okay.
So that's probably what I'm kind of expecting over the next decade, is that they're all going to want to...
Quicker turnovers, quicker releases, and...
They'll at least do it, at least for some of them.
Yeah.
Just to get that momentum to continue.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any predictions, really. I guess mine would just be more like, I think Disney is just going to keep doing what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But they haven't got a big year next year. I mean, they might... they got fucking, Black Widow.
Yeah.
But they haven't got, the new Avengers. There's no new Star Wars next year. It's all. I think they're all heavily focused on Disney Plus next year.
Yeah,
All
it
those
seems like
TV shows.
restructuring their business plan
Yeah, 'cause
to
they're like, okay,
focus on
we've
that.
won the game in cinemas.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got to win the game on streaming,
Yeah.
which they will if they do it right. And Mandalorian's done really well, and I just hope that there's still choice.
Yeah.
And there will be. Like it's never just going to be one thing. But the other thing about Disney, I just hope they don't buy anymore.
Yeah.
Like they bought 20th Century Fox for what, 73 billion,
Mm-hmm.
and now they've greenlit the new Planet of the Apes films, and they've got the director who did fucking Maze Runner to helmet. And I'm like, you've
Yeah.
just gone another step down. Like,
Mm-hmm.
So I hope they just don't start butchering
Yeah.
all those IPs they've got. Anyway, we'll see. So my prediction then would be that Disney is going to butcher things further.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's been an interesting sort of time with the whole with Fox sort of going under the Disney banner
Yeah.
because Disney were like, look, we'll let you do your thing, and then Fox wasn't doing so well, and there's time to like, all right, we're gonna step in a bit, and it's been an interesting conversation.
There was that other headline that Deadpool 3 is going ahead at Marvel.
Mm.
So that's obviously going to intertwine with the next phase of Marvel films.
Yep.
What a great character to bring into the fold, because the next slate of films definitely look darker. You got Doctor Strange 2 and all these new films that they seem like they're going into a bit more mature, darker areas.
Yeah.
Because they got to kind of keep things moving.
Yeah. Well, they have to evolve and change. Otherwise, they're going to go the way of the Western films.
And you look at like Deadpool and Logan and Joker, like they're ones that have kind of shaken the superhero landscape.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Marvel know that, and they're like, okay, we can't go full on violence, but there's a middle ground somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see.
All right. So we'll finish up.
Wrap it up.
We're excited for the new year.
Yeah, 2020.
So
No flying cars yet, but
No. We'll
I
see.
don't know.
Very good. All right. Thanks for listening.
Yes, adios.